Yo, yo, yo. Hello, everybody. Good morning. What's going on? Well, afternoon. It's afternoon for pretty much everybody, actually. But match day and also a big day of news, of course, with regards to a couple of Man United players. The big story this morning so far, of course, that Mainoo and Harry Maguire set for their new contracts, looking close to being done. This is huge. For a lot of reasons, and it also is definitely very fundamental to the overall strategy of how we want to approach this summer and what we're going to need to do in the market. So very big news, very important, and very encouraging as well, I must say, in understanding the terms and the situation around both of them, both of these players. So that's what we'll talk about first. We'll kind of talk through all of that, and I want to explain as well what this means for the midfield plan. Because recently, if you've been watching a lot of the videos, I've been discussing, in all these individual videos on Anderson, on Baleba, on Wharton, on Camavinga, on Tonali, and on the names to come, one of the points I keep making is about how they're going to partner with other players and mix and matching profiles. And that is definitely something that is weighing in on the decision here, how the profiles are all going to match and how they're all going to mix. And one of the things I've made very clear here is how they would partner with Mainoo and why that indicates certain players are likely more favorites than others. The club's certainly approach, the club's plan has definitely been not that Mainoo can't be rotation and getting 2 or 3 signings into the midfield and that everybody's going to get chances, but it's about making sure that everybody can play together and that you have a team that fits properly in terms of the profiles matching up together, making sure they can all work. You don't want a situation where you bring a player in and you go, well, he can't play with Kabi. How's that going to work? That doesn't solve any problems. Those are some of the doubts with players like Adam Wharton and others, but we'll talk through all of that. But let's look at the story itself initially here, which comes from David Ornstein, of course, that United close to agreement with Mainoo and Harry Maguire over new contracts. Proposed deal would keep 20-year-old midfielder at United until 2031 on improved terms. 33-year-old defender offered a 1+1 deal. Work still needed, but talks advanced. Absolutely brilliant to me. I genuinely have no complaints. With Maguire first, speaking about that, number one, leadership. We won't have Casemiro. We certainly need leaders. You look at that back line, and I've heard people go, well, it could be Lenny in heaven. Sorry, but you've got in Aid in heaven a player who started 10 or 15 senior games, period, as a footballer. And Lenny Oro, who's still technically only in his maybe 3rd season as a starting level center back. Lamens, who's only in his 2nd full season as a goalkeeper. We're going into Champions League, 60+ games. We need leadership. We need experience at the back. Maguire brings that, and at the moment, he's the only fit center back we have over the age of 25. So it's huge keeping Maguire. Doesn't mean we won't necessarily look to the center back market this summer. Of course, as stories and Carrick himself has even confirmed, and as I've unfortunately been saying for months, I don't know if De Ligt will even come back this year. It's a mystery. Nobody knows. We can't rely on him even till after summer. You never know. And it should be noted as well that this back issue is not actually a totally new issue. If you look into it a little bit, he had certain back issues occurring previously. And that makes it very concerning. It can be totally debilitating for a player. And it sucks. It really does suck, that is the case. But we're still potentially going to be short on center backs. But what it means is that we probably don't need to head out into... If Maguire was missing, we probably into the market need 2 center backs this summer. With keeping Maguire, it pushes off that need a little bit, gives us experience, allows us to look at it, but potentially reduce the necessity, because I think Maguire and Lenny could be your long-term partners for next season. Not long-term, but your partners for next season. First choice that you're starting with, that you're running with, that you're going with. I think that could help. And then you have time for other players to come through. So it does make it a lot easier for us to focus on other areas without the same level of urgency, also leverage. And of course, the idea next summer is to finish the defense and the rest of the team. But we still need one. We would probably need two if Maguire were to leave. Seriously, like that's the truth of it. So big on that front. And I think Harry's playing his best football. It's kind of crazy how this happens, where players will do this. Bruno Fernandes, I think right now is playing the best football of his career. I think Harry Maguire is playing the best football of his career right now. It's kind of funny how that happens, but I think their leadership is invaluable right now. And for Harry, it's really, really important. I'm telling you right now, as wonderful as the recent turnaround has been in results, if we didn't have Harry Maguire, we wouldn't be winning these games we've been winning. We probably would have lost against Everton, probably Palace, probably a couple of the other ones as well. There's just no way we would have. I mean, the Arsenal game was crazy up and down, but there's just no way we would have won those games without his box presence at the back. Just no way. So I think it's huge. It cannot be understated how important Harry is. And then for Kobbie, here's the very encouraging part of this whole thing. The wages for Kobbie Mainoo are expected to be in a perfectly acceptable range for a player of his kind of stature in the team, which is not an out-and-out superstar, starter, guaranteed, first 11 all the time type of player. It's a player with room to grow. And United have been very insistent on that from the beginning. And these contract talks started like almost 2 years ago. And they continued to work on it last year, continue to work on it. And then obviously it stalled out during the first 6 months of this season. And it's right where we would want it to be on a wage perspective, closer to Ahmad, not up at 190 to 200,000 or something like that. But those stories were always off. I never bought those. They didn't really make sense. I don't think that those were the case, but as I understand it, it'd be in that range of 120 plus bonuses, taking it up, into the 130 to 140 bracket in that range with bonuses in play. And I think that that's the right, when you're building a squad, you have like your main 18 senior players, right? 15 to 18 are your main guys. And you probably have like 4 or 5 who are your stars, your Brunos, your Cunhas, your Mbumos, these guys who are the key big players of your team. And we'll be signing at least one of those to add to the midfield this summer. Those guys, by the way, Cunha and Mbeumo and them, their contracts can reach 200,000 or so in a Champions League year with bonuses and things. So they're not going to be like on pithy wages or something like that. They will be on pretty significant. Their wages will grow significantly in Champions League seasons with a lot of with bonuses and things. So you have people in that range, and that's good. That's what you want. These are established seniors. They're starters regularly. They're doing what they should. Then you have a bit more of your experienced veterans, your Maguires and your Shaws and your Dallos and these types of players that are probably sitting in that middle bracket around 150 or so. Then you've got your sometimes starters, more guys trying to push their way into the team, the younger players, the bump ups from academy, the bump ups where you signed them at 22 from another club where they were on 30,000. And those are the guys that are in the 100, 120 range. And that's where these guys are at. And that's where Lenny is at. That's where Ahmad is at. That's where Kobbie is at. And I think that makes sense, because if they establish themselves as permanent starters, as people who are there, who are making their way into the team fully, there's room to go up. Exactly that. United MRM, in the past, too often we would give that big contract right off the bat. Put Greenwood on 190,000 right off the bat. So there's no room to go up anymore. Put Rashford on 350,000 like right off the bat. Sign Sancho as a young player and put him on 300,000 right off the bat. There's no more incentive. There's no more room to grow. That's a huge part of Omar Barada's philosophy, and how they built at City. And one of the reasons that they're floundering now, despite all the hype over how much wages they paid, they didn't used to. They actually used to pay less. They'd sign people starting less, and then when they win, they would bump those contracts up. Liverpool built their team on signing players and bringing players in the 100 to 175 bracket, and then they would bump them, and then they've started bumping them up, and look how it's hurt them. Arsenal are in the same boat right now. They signed almost the majority of their team in that 100 to 150 bracket, and then they've started bumping those contracts up, and they're actually, at this point, financially needing to sell because they're going to have to start scaling back because their wages have got too high. United are doing it in, I think, the exact right way of approaching things. And it is a philosophy, though, because there's a video, actually, of him and Bergensten talking about this and saying you can't give them the big contract up front because you need room to grow. And the minute they win, they're going to ask for another contract. All of them. You have to give them the reason to jump things up and to bump up to that next level. And that's what United are doing. And so be it. And so we will. And it seems good. So for Kobbie, that's great. It also settles any question about his future, of course, at United. That he's here for the long haul on both sides. It's settled. And United can build the midfield properly now moving forward. And essentially, in looking at it, then this is where it leaves our plan, because it does adjust the plan a little bit here in terms of where we're going. Madrid were offering Euro more. Yep, Madrid were offering Euro more. I mean, that's the funny part. Madrid were offering Lenny Euro more. We've signed plenty of players while offering lower wages. Cunha and Bumo and Sheshko and Lenny all had higher wage offers from other clubs. That's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth of it. Overall. But in terms of the midfield plan, a couple of things that this has to settle on is that what the plan is moving forward and what we're trying to do moving forward in order to build the midfield properly. You know, and it's very, very interesting in that sense because, again, the partnership with Kobbie Mainoo, the ability to play with Kobbie Mainoo, the ability to play and match up profiles in that midfield is a key factor in how they're building moving forward. That doesn't mean Kobbie has to start every single game next year, and you're not going to sign important players, and you're not going to build your midfield properly or anything like that. Doesn't mean that. But you want to have this throughout the entire team. It's not about a starting 11 or even one player and two players going together. It's about how you mix it all together and make it work. How you put the whole team together and make it work. That all of the parts work so that you're not in trouble. Like you look at our center back issue right now, right? And you take Lissandro. We have so many players who have so many weaknesses, I guess. Like we have a bunch of slow center backs. De Ligt, Maguire, and Lissandro. And then our only two quicker center backs are Heaven and Euro. And you start to go, well, that's one of the problems that we have. One of the reasons we can't build a proper center back unit is there's always these, it's like, so you have to figure out the exact partnerships, and some partnerships are disastrous and some partnerships work and some partnerships go like shit, and it makes it really hard to build the team. We don't want to have that situation in the midfield itself. We don't want to have that at all. And that's the way that we're going to look at it moving forward. So one of the things I mentioned, like in the Adam Wharton video, and I've talked before about why I don't believe Wharton will be one of the major signings this summer, is because Wharton is also one of those players I think you have to build a team with, and specifically in where he lacks certain mobility things. He has certain mobility issues where, you probably could never play Wharton and Cobby together. I mean, you could. It's not like you can't get away with it. But essentially, you're creating some of those same kinds of issues that you have. And so you have to work through those types of things. And it leads us to the original plan that has been the main plan that was not predicated on Cobby Mainoo staying, but was obviously formed with Cobby Mainoo in mind and with the idea that Cobby Mainoo will be here. And that was an athletic 6 like Baleba and another athletic, mobile, but all-rounder midfielder, Baleba and Anderson. Essentially would be your plan A for this team, because you could pretty much mix them all together, right? And all of those partnerships would work. There's games where Anderson and Mainoo would probably be fine. Games where you're expecting to have more of the ball, games where you're expecting to do work. Baleba and Mainoo, Baleba will cover up and defensively destroy and things like that. Baleba and Anderson and Mainoo could form a 3 moving forward if Bruno was ever to not play. Like, there's lots of different ways this could work. Baleba and Anderson can work together as well.
Next season, depth. Chances they move Leacher on and replace him with someone not injured as much? I don't think De Ligt is movable.
I don't think we're going to see much by way of center back from the academy yet. Because I think that we just don't have the players that are ready for that kind of situation. You know, I think in the future, maybe. But I don't think right now we have the players in the academy level. Kukonki is maybe the best, like, potential player that could come in, but so raw. I'll be honest, I would rather see Kukonki go get a loan. Not because I don't think he can make it or something like that, but I think that we need some of these guys to get experience. Like, again, center backs usually come good a little bit later in general. I'd really like to see them get out on loan. I don't think Fredrickson is good enough. We've seen him at the senior level a few times, and he was getting destroyed in that Grimsby game. I'm not super high on Fredrickson. I think he's a footballer who will make it, but I don't believe that he's a United level center back. I think Kukonki has potential, but I really like to see him on loan. And I think that the guys who we have at the younger level will more likely go on loan, or should likely go on loan, rather than being where, at the level we have needed now, especially when we're in Champions League and things like that. We need Aiden Heaven to be playing in a lot of our rotation games and getting that experience, because he's the most ready young center back who right now doesn't have a lot of minutes going around him, right? He's not really getting on the pitch much. Kukonki, I think, is the best candidate that we should get out on loan somewhere. I don't think any of them are ready to step into the first team, to be honest, like at all. I don't think they're even close at this point in time. Go out on loan, go to the championship, go somewhere, see what you can do, and then come back. And I think it would work. If we sign a center back and then next year Lissandro goes, De Ligt goes, Maguire goes, we have a signing, Heaven, Yoro, and we've loaned out a couple CBs. We can see if one can come through, and that will help us in the long term. So that would be my answer there. But yeah, with Cobby, I would not eliminate, but I would definitely move down the list Wharton, Stiller, these types of players. Players who are just not athletically and physically robust enough to fit into that kind of midfield. And that's why we haven't made the moves for those players. A player like Stiller, there was a lot of talk about at last summer, January, and we haven't really touched it. That's why I believe we've avoided that, is because in the long-term plans, I think he's someone, if Cobby were to leave, you'd be saying, hey, someone like Stiller, could come in. But with Cobby being here, I don't think you do that, because, you're just missing it. So this is a fairly informed opinion. I would push some of those players down the list in terms of the less physically robust and athletic profiles that are out there in the midfield. The plan A would be a defensive 6 that you have. I would give the 3 names that I would give here would be Baleba, Camavinga, and João Gomes. And then your 3 more technical all-rounders that certainly aren't slouches defensively, are very robust, but I think are more passers in that sense too. And that's Anderson, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes. And I would say if you split them into two categories, one of each of these categories would be the plan A. Right? One of each of those categories is plan A. If you're to move on Manuel Ugarte, you could probably add another player from there if you can get some bargains, or if move further down the list, or look at younger players like Buati who are out there and all of that. So, because if you do this, you don't have to have this thing about guaranteed starter. Maybe Baleba needs some rotation, and you're putting, and you're running Anderson and Kabi at times. Okay. Cool. Maybe Kabi needs rotation and you're running Baleba and Anderson at times, or Tonali. It doesn't matter, but either way, if you kind of group that up in that sense, you base it that way in terms of how United will want to rebuild their midfield. One more defensive-oriented player, one more technical attacking and passing player, and then get there. And I think that that's the way that it'll work. And I think it works in the short term, but I also think in the long term, it's a good plan, right? Because let's say 2 years from now, Bruno's gone. Well, you don't even need to necessarily replace Bruno in that sense. Maybe you're not playing with your traditional 10 in the future. Maybe you are playing more of a flat 3. Well, any of the players I just mentioned, if you're getting 2 and mixing them with Kabi, they make a good 3-man midfield. Right? A Tonali, Baleba, Kabi midfield actually works really, really well if you think about the balance of it. You know what I mean? So I think we've got a good plan moving forward, one that makes a lot of sense, one that is very balanced in the way that we want to do it. One that definitely seems to me to fit the one that seems to me to fit a good long-term plan and all of that for forever. Move to playing a 6 and 2 8s. Well, if you do that, Daniel, we could do that, right? But I think that in order to accomplish that, you need that 6 to be like a demon. Like you're going to have to get like a Kamavinga or something like that in there to make that work. Someone really, really strong in that kind of position. But look, it all depends. Who's going to be the manager next year? Who's going to be the coach? It's probably Carrick, but what if it's Enrique? Then that changes things. Like if Luis Enrique were to come in, what kind of midfield would he want to run? If you look at what he's done at Barcelona, at PSG. If you look at what kind of midfield he would want to run historically, if somehow we managed to pull off Luis Enrique, he would want some really, 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 really hardworking grafters as well in that midfield too, and to form a proper unit in there. And I think that the plan that we're looking at matches that up quite well either way. That's the important part. Yes, Satyajit, exactly that. I think we will go for a deal we can get done in the beginning. And then that gives us the freedom for the rest of it in general. I think we will go for the easy deal first. Try to get something over the line, get something in, reduce our pressure for the rest of summer, and that will let us just be more fluid in how we move forward. Yeah, Enrique definitely wants technical players, but it goes under the radar just how hard of a workers he has. Ugarte was way too limited. He doesn't want limited players. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. But like, God, now I'm getting the names so confused. João Neves, right, is probably the most intense player in football. Technically, he's great, but he's also probably the most intense player in football. You have to say, in the way that he gets around and all of that. But yeah, I think we'll go look to the most important deals. And I think that's where you're looking at, I think that's where you're looking at the idea that, Vitinha is a crazy workhorse as well. He told Mbappe exactly. So for Enrique, yes, he likes technical players, but he does not short on the work, like at all. He's an absolute dickhead about that too. strong technically, but also they have to be really, 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 really grafting. Like there's no excuses for that out there at all. He wants players who work their asses off. And I like that. That's why I'm a huge fan of Enrique. And I think he's an unbelievable manager because I'm obviously I lean one direction in the way that I view football and look at it. I would rather have players work hard than just a bunch of technical players who walk around. I would rather one than the other. Personally, if I had to balance it, Enrique would take Rooney over Neymar. Anyone with sense would. I'm going to say some things that'll get me in trouble, but I don't know, man. Neymar wasn't even the second best player on his own team, and people are talking crazy right now about Neymar. But yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot to think about, but the plan is good, man. I'm quite happy with the plan. It wasn't us on that João Neves thing. Jorge Mendes wanted to move João Neves to PSG. That was the plan all along. There was nothing we could do about it. He didn't want to join us. The money was there. He didn't want to join us. People have to bear that in mind. He didn't want to join us. It's that simple. He just didn't want to join us. I know people are disappointed about that, and it's easy to blame the club, but he just didn't want to join us. That's it. But yeah, that is that. That's it. So good plan. It secures a couple of the things that we're looking at right now. Additionally, it is good that maybe Fence is mended on the same page with a certain agency in CAA Stellar, the combination of the two, who are, of course, the biggest agency in the world at this point. They also happen to have 3 players that we should think about this summer, and that is Elliot Anderson, Camavinga, and Pablo Barrios. All 3 of them are CAA Stellar players. So renewing a contract with Kobbie Mainoo, having a good agreement with them, getting that all sorted out, settling that issue, not a bad thing to have the club maintaining a good relationship with the agency that represents 3 players that could be really interesting to look at in the summer. And it would be nice if we could get one of them, because any one of those I'd be happy. I'd be happy with. Anyway, they do represent that, and that's very important as well. You got to bear in mind, agents just have a huge influence on the way that decisions are made in football for players. They do, and some have more decisions than others. It's why I don't tend to I don't try to jump on players when I see things I don't like happening. I do generally talk about agents. Sometimes maybe I shouldn't, because maybe it gets me in trouble or something like that. But I tend to put it on the agents when things are happening that I don't like. I think that most of the players listen to their agents. I mean, you listen to guys like Dembele. He says he's never made decisions in his life about his football career. He leaves it up to the agent, and the agent handles it. And he moves where the agent says, and he goes where the agent says, and he does what the agent. And it's like a lot of them put trust in their agents, and some agents do a great job of that, and some of them do a poor job of that. And that's just kind of how it is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's good for United to have a good relationship with the agents themselves in that sense. No matter what I think, I think it's a good thing. But you'd be shocked at just how much agents play in football, and how many politics go into deciding where the players land, where the players end up, and all of that. Before I get distracted here, lineup is out in 1 second. Hold on. I'm ready. I need to pull it up. Hold on. What's the lineup Forgot we have a team. I started early so we could discuss everything else going on, but the team is like Eric Ten Hag's agency, like SEG. We're gonna do the lineup, and I'm gonna come back to that because I was thinking about this the other night. There's not a single player we signed under Eric Ten Hag and SEG's influence that didn't turn out crap, injured, or too old. Not one over that entire period of 650 million spent. All right. I don't think... Yep, Sheshko's on the bench. Sheshko's benched. I told you he was going to be benched. I told you he was going to be benched. I told you, man. Anyway, this is what we voted for. So it is not this. I told you he was going to be benched, man. It was unchanged. We won, so it's unchanged. We won, so it's unchanged. Maz is not in the squad. He was ill this week. Yeah, I look, guys, I'm with you. I think, again, I really, really, really think Sheshko should be starting. I really, really, really think Sheshko should be starting. It's the only thing I can disagree with. I'm not saying we won't win, Cliff. That's not it. I just think that we need to be that Sheshko should be starting. It's the last thing the opposition were expecting. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. I just think Sheshko should be starting. But look, I think we'll get the 3 points. I think we'll win. And that's all that matters right now. But like, I'm not going to get into this whole thing again here. You know what I mean? Sheshko's the new Mainoo. But he is our best player right now. Sheshko has won the most points of any player in this team over Carrick's tenure. He's got to get on the pitch. Look, here's the thing, right? It works until it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And then it's hindsight. But there is foresight necessary when you look at it and say, yeah, we're winning with Sheshko off the bench. The reason for that we're winning because Sheshko is coming off of the bench is because our team is good enough to keep the game tight, and that means we have Sheshko off the bench. We also won with Sheshko starting against Palace, and he was integral to it, you know? But like, Mbeumo could win the game coming off of the bench. Cunha could win the game coming off of the bench. Anyone can win the game coming off of the bench. Like, again, listen for a second, all right? It doesn't matter who's on the bench. They make an impact. Think about Cunha versus Man City. He comes off the bench and goes and contributes to... We got screwed. We should have had more goals, but goes and gets goals. Every one of our forwards, Cunha, be it Cunha or Sheshko or Mbeumo, who comes off of the bench, will make an impact. They will make an impact because they're good players. So it's not about Sheshko being on the bench. Our subs make an impact because they're great players. Arsenal as well. Our subs are making an impact. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Cunha, it could be Mbeumo, it could be Sheshko, it could be any of them. They'll make an impact off the bench. Sheshko's winning off the bench because he's on the bench. If it was Cunha on the bench, Cunha would be coming and winning off the bench too and scoring off the bench. Like, that's just how it is. That's how I see it. I think whoever's on the bench will be, they'll be making an impact because that's how we're playing football. We're keeping it tight, and then they're coming on and making an impact and winning the game late because we have better subs than the opposition does, and they come on fresh and they're match winners. That being said, I think that he still should be starting. Because when I look, because again, our games without him have been poor in the first half. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. That's not how I see it. That's just not how I see it. It's okay. It's just not how I see it. I don't think it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix. I don't think it's broke or not broke. I think that our first half against Villa was broke. I think we were very silly in how we played, spamming crosses into 5'8" players in the box. I think that was broke, and we should have fixed it. I think against, it's just strange. To me, it's strange. Like, it's not been that great, but if we win, it's okay. And we will win probably, because we have a better team. But that's just basic. If it's Carrick long term, do you think he requests a different striker? Shesho? No, but I do. That's like the one thing I worry about with West Ham as well. Yeah, Everton as well was like, you have to think about the last bunch of games. We were bad against West Ham without Shesho. We were bad against Everton without Shesho. We were bad against Villa without Shesho. So, like, maybe it wasn't good without him, But I don't know. It's the one question I do have with Carrick, because there's other things that I don't think he can do anything about, in terms of playing good football. But Shesho, he has, and he should play. I don't think you can keep coming off the bench at 75 minutes every single game. I think that luck will ride out, at some point in time. And you gotta wonder, what do you have to do to start? You know what I mean? In that case, like that's what I would be thinking personally. What do I have to do to start? If I keep scoring, keep doing the best when I'm coming off of the bench, what do I have to do to start? I would be wondering that. You have only one question about Carrick, just one? Not really. It's just that the other things, I think that the other things with Carrick, I don't think they're unanswerable. I don't think they're answer. Like, I don't think he can do anything about it. I think Sheshko's about the only player that I think Carrick has something that would make us play better football. I think I'm just a huge fan of classic nines in that sense. I think that, for example, it's not just what we're doing in some sense. We've been going long a lot in recent games. Our build-up out the back hasn't been great. We're going to face a very energetic press from Bournemouth today. I think we need to go long. I think we need to be able to go long up to Shesho to knock the ball down and win it. I think we're going to need that. Otherwise, we keep going long. I think otherwise we keep going long to nothing and we lose it. So, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not worried about his mentality. Shesho clearly has an absolutely brilliant mentality. It's more just, it's not a mentality question. It's just, it becomes factual to me of like Kobe Mainoo, right?
Cool face emoji. Isn't that red flag, James?
Stubborn manager. They're all stubborn.
Short-minded.
As long as we win, then it's fine. Right now, it's fine. All I'm saying is that, take Kobe Mainoo. Does he have a bad mentality? Because most fans argued his mentality was good, but they said, when I used to argue, it's fine, you're young, wait your time, you'll get in at the start of the season, that the plan is there to keep you for the long term, all of that. And he requested to leave. Does that mean Kobe has a bad mentality? Because most people will argue, and most people said, no, it was just clear he wasn't going to play. It's not his mentality. His mentality is not bad. So I'm just saying, let's apply that to Shesho as well. There's just a point, I think, where you go, good mentality or bad mentality, doesn't matter. There's a point where a player needs to know, what do I have to do to start? There has to be clear, like any job you're in, you need clearly definable goals and outcomes, right? You need fully definable, you need achievable markers. If you're in a job, no matter how motivated you are, no matter how good of a worker you are, no matter how top your mentality is, if your boss leaves it incredibly like airy in terms of what you have to accomplish in order to, let's say, get a promotion or get a raise or, you know, take that next step in your career, no matter how good you are, no matter how great your mentality is, you're at some point you're going to go, this doesn't make sense. It's not my fault. It's somebody else. You know what I mean? I just can't do anything about this. I'm not saying that's the case right now. But you do need to know at some point what you have to do to be successful, you know, and what you have to do to play, or it just doesn't really make sense. I'm not like particularly worried about it. I would be starting Shesho right now, but understandably as well, you know, we're still in an interim get 3 points end of season thing. I just think objectively the Mbeumo striker thing is a total failure. It hasn't worked once. I don't know why we keep doing it. It hasn't worked since Arsenal. And I don't see the point of it otherwise. I just don't think it's been good, because I think that I don't think it's helping Mbeumo either. Like, I've been thinking about this recently a lot, where earlier on in the season, when Cunha was playing striker under Amorim, he was struggling. When he was playing in the 9 and going back and forth positionally and didn't have a spot nailed down, he was struggling. And at the start of the season, people were going, Cunha's not actually that good. He's not got going. He's not been great. And Mbeumo was firing. He was in the same position every game. Right 10. Boom. Go, 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 go. Firing, 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 firing. Now it's switched. Cunha's in the position where he's thriving and he's scoring 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 and he's scoring. And Mbeumo is the one having to play out of position. And now people are saying Mbeumo's shit, Mbeumo's struggling, Mbeumo's doing poorly, Mbeumo's actually not that good. I don't think that's true either. I think that naturally you're asking a player to do a job he's not suited to. In both cases, they're going to struggle with it. And so I think it's a little bit unfair to them in that sense, and that they're getting a lot of heat. And I don't like seeing a game where Mbeumo's having a bad game, playing out of position, and the timeline is filled with people talking about Mbeumo's actually not that good, and Mbeumo's been crap, and Mbeumo's been like, okay, fine. But I don't know, man. We've had this discussion for years. I would just rather see striker who's a striker, left 10 who's a 10, a left winger, and a right winger who's a right winger, and leave it at that. Their best positions, let people play in their best positions, and keep it as simple as that. That's what I would like to see personally. But, you know, it's fine. It is what it is. Mbeumo, I hope he goes and smashes it today, because I love Mbeumo. I think he's a great player. I think he's an excellent player. But yeah, Bruno in the pivot, you know, Bruno in the pivot. People complained about it a lot. Well, yeah, you know, you do limit players by moving them out of their best positions and into others. That's all. But I think Mbeumo's really good. I think Cunha's really good. And I just think that we could get more out of all of them by sticking them in their best positions and just sticking with that and just keep doing it. You know? Do you think he values what Shesho gives out? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. He might say, I get that. But what about the first 60 minutes when we're playing like shit for the last like 6 games? That's all I'm saying. I get that we can win games at the end. We can. And that's why I think we're continuing to win. That's why I think we will win. That's why I'm not overly critical. That's why I'm not panicking. That's why I'm not upset. That's why I'm not particularly bothered. But I do look at each game and go, far be it for me to complain. I would just like to see how we can improve in the first 60 minutes of the game. Because I feel like if we were better over the 60, we wouldn't necessarily need the 30 minutes to win the game at the end, or the 20 minutes to win the game at the end. And my blood pressure would thank you. But if we were good for 60 or 70 minutes, I would take that over being good for 20. I know. Crazy thing to say. But that's what I'm thinking about, is how do we get better at the first 60 minutes of the game? It's good to finish games strong. No doubt about it. And I'd rather be good at the last 30 than the first 30. But maybe we could get better at the first 60. That's all I'm thinking. That's where I'm at. Because I don't think we can get away with this forever. That's all. And I'm thinking about Carrick as coach next year. Because I still think he probably will be the coach next year. And I'm thinking, how are we going to solve that? Because I don't want to see this. Like, it's fine for this year. I don't want to see it next year. I don't want to see us be bad for 60 minutes every game and then win it at the end next year. If it works every game, great. But I do think your luck runs out once in a while. You know? I do think your luck runs out once in a while. And it'll stop working the same way. So that's just me, though. That's just me. That's just my thought process on the whole thing. I could totally be wrong. I could totally be wrong. But yeah. Soft launching Carrick as permanent manager. Well, guys, open your eyes. We've just nailed down 2 major questions for next year. Kobbie Mainoo and Harry Maguire. That essentially, besides Bruno, the question around Bruno, essentially confirms our squad for next year. Confirms our starters. Confirms some of our main players for next year. What comes next? We're clearly nailing down our plans for next year. That means during this next 3 weeks, like we just talked about, coach and progressing on transfers. It's no accident. We're hearing about transfers, we're hearing about players, we're hearing about options, and at the same time, we're extending these contracts and sorting that out. It's no accident. It's definitely all tied together. When will we know on the manager? I'll be honest. If we win this game today, which I do expect us to, I do think we'll win. I think it'll be tight. I think we'll give it to Carrick, and I think we'll have a pretty good idea after this break. I could be wrong. That is purely my opinion right now, because I'm not saying that I don't know that they're having talks with him, but I genuinely think that that's what's going to happen. That's just my opinion at this point in time. I think that he'll get the job. It might not. It's hard to know, but if we win this game, I'd be surprised if by the end of the break, unless Enrique is saying, yes, I'll join, which I don't think he'll say, I would be surprised if by the end of the break, Carrick isn't essentially been told, finish the job and it's yours. I'd be surprised. That's my opinion. Maybe it's slightly informed, but not really. It's just, that's my opinion. Unless Enrique tells us in the next 3 weeks, I will take the job and I'm a serious candidate, I think Carrick's going to be told, finish the job and the job is yours. And that's just what I think. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I think is going to happen. If we win today, we go 8 points clear 4th. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. Jay Lacey's back in the PL2 game tonight. That's good. Maybe he can get back into the first team soon. What else is here? Man City are pushing to sign Elliot Anderson and are in advanced talks with his agent. Nothing is agreed yet, but City have confirmed their interest to those close to the players. I don't know what that means exactly. Again, we do know that City are pushing to sign him. I'll ask about that. Xerxes wants to leave United in summer. Some Prem clubs are interested, and Italian teams are also keeping tabs on him. I believe West Ham were interested in him. Fulham maybe as well. Yeah, I think Xerxes and Ugarte will go this summer. Okay. Yeah, he said that City are pushing to on the Anderson deal, which is fine. We do know that, and they're likely the favorites, and they're more likely than us to sign him. But that's why we have alternatives as well to look at. When are we going to push? Well, the thing is that it's not so much now about pushing. We've registered our interest. We're going to make an offer. But I don't think any decision is still going to be fully communicated until later on. But we'll probably want, again, think about these next 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if, again, over these next 3 weeks, we either hear about a big push for Anderson, or we hear about a big push for others. And I could strongly see Tonali being one of them, in that sense, that we really, really push for over the next few weeks. And then, yeah. What country's getting the 5th slot? It should be 2 countries, actually. England and Germany right now, or England and Spain, but England are still way ahead on that front. Clayton, it's fine. You know, to me, I look at it and I go, if Anderson picks City, I think it'll just be the money. And if he does that, I think his career is going to go the way of Jack Grealish and probably Semenyo, because I think City are in for the fall off. When will you get a buzz cut to stand in solidarity with Shesho? Now, he should grow his hair out a little like mine. It's a good haircut this time. Got a good haircut this time. This was a good one. Not that the other ones are bad, but this one came out particularly well, in my opinion. He should just grow it out a little bit. Just a little. I think actually this is kind of what his hair was like when we signed him. Huh? Pretty normal haircut. Although, the shorter I get my hair, the more I think maybe I could take it even shorter. I'm just not sure. I feel like with how big my forehead is, if I go really short, it won't look great. That's just my I don't know, though. I need to do one of those filters or whatever. You're down with Tonali and Gomez, bench Cobby? I mean, I think that all 3 of them would play. That's a smart cut. What shade of brown did you go for? Very funny, but I do have a lot of grays. You can see it. You can see the gray hairs. See those? There's like some big grays and white hairs poking through. I am going gray. I'm getting old and stressed. You can see all the gray hairs poking through. Make it longer? I don't know. If I make it longer, I look like Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another. Like a lot like him in that movie. If I grow my hair longer, that's exactly what it looks like. We have the same head shape, the same face, the same widow's peak and everything. I'm not balding. It's not balding. I'm never gonna need hair implants. Coloring maybe, but I'll probably let my hair turn gray. I don't think it'll look bad. I'll be all right. I'm good with my hair. Get a mullet. United might have a good business relationship with Madrid, so Camavinga might be much more likely. His and Tonali would be great, hopefully. Yeah, and again, CAA stellar. Yeah. You don't know about the back, but James has a good hairline. Yeah, well, the back is good. It's not rising. It's all good. It's all good. if I could find pictures of myself as a kid, you would see the giant forehead that I've always had. I used to until I was like 18, I had bangs, long hair and bangs, like the shaggy long hair and bangs. Yeah. Look on the top. Look how thick. No bald spots, no thinning, nothing. We're good. But yeah, I'm good. But I used to have like the long hair, shaggy bangs and stuff because I always tried to cover up my giant forehead. You know, that hair. Well, it was the emo skater phase and all of that. So that was it fit at the time as well. But I was always embarrassed about my forehead until I was like 18 years old or 17. Yeah, because of that. But I got over it. Eventually you get over these things and you realize it's okay. It's okay. Accept the body you have, you know, the features you can't change. Some things you can't do anything about. You just have to live with it. Do you think Carrick is tactically good enough? Because I can't see that, or maybe too old.
I can't see that, or maybe I'm too old to see it. Smiley face emoji.
I think that he's doing basics right now, and it's hard to say beyond that. Yeah, well, I found when I went shorter haired, I thought it actually fit me a lot better at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think that it actually, I'll be honest, now that I look at it, I think short hair is almost always better for most guys. Tonali plays a deep line playmaker for AC Milan on a double pivot during the Scudetto winning season and excelled at it. He's definitely played in deeper, more playmaking roles. Yeah. You're 71, no bald spots and long hair. That's good. That's good. Some of you are very worried about Carrick staying, huh? Look, like I said, I'm never going to be a hypocrite. I said all season about Amorim. I think that tactically we couldn't do what he wanted us to do because the squad was limited, and I don't think we can play good football with the team that we have right now. There's too many weaknesses in it, and I feel the same about Carrick. But he's winning, and he's got it simple, and he's got it more effective. So what? You know what I mean? So what? What else can you ask for right now? I don't think Carrick is anything like Ollie, to be honest. I don't see the similarities. Also because Carrick's much more experienced as a coach. I'm not worried about attracting top talent. I think that Carrick is an excellent player, and that matters too. Yeah, I'd probably give him a 1+1 as well, Marcus. Exactly. But I've reached the point with this club where I would that I think that the squad is all that really matters. Yeah, Ollie was very macro. Carrick is a coach. They're just very, very different. I think that, yeah, exactly, Rob. I agree. And exactly, Lexi, like same things, you know. Personally, I just think for all the praise we get, you know, that's been going around, it's kind of, it confuses me because, well, it's whatever, right? The midfield is so limited. They're good at a couple of things, but it's so limited. We have to see changes there. And I think that once we fix the midfield, everything else will come right. And I think everything else will look amazing. And I think everything else will work from there on. And I think that fixing the midfield in this team I think the floor will be like 3rd place, 4th place, like the absolute floor. And I think we'll be competitive in many competitions. If we do that for a year and Carrick can't bring us higher, then go get a new manager later, but at least the squad will be basically done. I'm okay with it. I'm not saying that there'd be something wrong with appointing someone else. I'm not saying I wouldn't take someone else. I'm not saying that there's other coaches that I wouldn't also be happy with. I'm actually just not really worried about it. The only people I don't want are guys who I think would like fuck the whole thing up. You know what I mean? Who would screw it all up? Who would blow the whole project into pieces and melt down? That's why I don't want De Zerbi. I don't trust him at all. You know? No, I get that, Levi. I do. But I think some of that is intentional. We were trying to play better football. It's ironic. I know some people are going to disagree with this, but we tried to play better football under Amorim, and the underlying stats were there, but it expanded our weaknesses so much that we couldn't win games, and then it would hurt us, right? Carrick's kind of doing the opposite, doing what's necessary to win games of football without expanding upon our weaknesses and all of that. But there's guys that I don't want that I think will blow things up. Ten Hag type guys. Tuchel is why I wasn't a big fan of him. De Zerbi, why I don't want him. If it's any of these other coaches, be it Carrick, Xabi Alonso, Enrique, Pochettino, any of these other guys, I genuinely, it's fine, man. I'm not stressed. I think it'll work great or it'll work fine and we'll be in the top 4 still. And then we can make a change if we need to. And I'm just not stressing about it. I just don't want someone to screw it all up. I think we've made some really great moves in the market, built the team really well. And that's where we are. All right. It's been an hour. I've got to eat some food, get ready, and go to the watch-along in about 35 minutes. As a reminder, the link is below. You can go and get your picks in for the game. You've got 42 minutes left. And then afterwards, if you want to join me as well for the watch-along, the link is here. And I'll post it, and you guys can come join me for the watch-along. I posted it in the chat as well now. It's a lot of fun. You can also download the iOS app and come back to that. But I will be live in about 35 minutes for the watch along, and then I will be live afterwards back here on YouTube to discuss the game, okay? Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Thanks for the discussion today. Let's hope we get a huge win, and I'll see you on the other side. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. Not really, but good night later. But good night for now. See ya.